There's no question that using personalization in your outbound messaging increases conversion. But the question is, how do I do this at scale without racking up cost or spending a bunch of my own time? Now, the answer to this is using AI, and in today, we're going to show you how to do just that with Clay. Whether you're looking to send cold emails, LinkedIn messages, or any other channel, Clay is a great way to do AI-based personalization at scale, so you can write thousands of personalized lines in minutes. Now, for this video, my business partner, Felipe, who is our COO at Done For You Meetings, will be going ahead and showing you exactly how we do this in this full-length tutorial. Felipe, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks for the introduction, Michael. As always, in today's video, we're going to talk a little bit more about Clay. Now, if it is the first time that you're watching videos on this channel about Clay, I do recommend that you go back one video just to see what Clay is all about in case you're not familiar with it yet. Now, I'm going to give you a 1-minute rundown on what Clay is on this video. Then we're going to talk about personalized lines for cold email. And then I'm going to show you how you can get them leveraging Clay and AI to create them for you. So first of all, what is Clay in the first place? Clay, as the name suggests, is a moldable tool. So it is not a tool in itself, although it has self-functionalities. It is a tool that connects other tools all in one. So for instance, as we have here on screen, it can connect lead generation tools with sending cold email softwares, with LinkedIn automations, with artificial intelligence, all in one place, all in the format of a spreadsheet. So you have one spreadsheet that is on steroids, pretty much. It can connect to every other tool that you wish to connect it to, as long as it has an API backend. Now, if you're curious about what an API backend means, how does that work, and you want to get more in-depth information about Clay, please check out the previous video. They'll also be linked down below, okay? That is that on Clay. Now, in today's video, we are talking specifically about personalized lines, okay? So here's the deal. We're going to talk about personalized lines, but first, I want to address what are good personalized lines and what are bad personalized lines. This is going to be a conversation about cold email strategy first, before I get into Clay. In fact, this video today will be quite a little bit about Clay, but more about personalized lines and how you can get good ones. Because Clay is quite easy to use, it's quite straightforward, but the thing that is important is how you leverage it and what is the strategy behind the whole thing, okay? So, starting with personalized lines, what is a personalized line in the first place? Personalized lines are lines that you add in cold email to make it seem like you have done your research when you send cold emails at scale. So for example, I want to come across as someone that's sending one email at a time, but I'm actually doing that in bulk and sending a lot of emails at once. That's when I plug in personalized lines, okay? Now, personalized lines is not a new concept at all. People have been doing this for the longest time ever. But the thing I wanted to address is what are good examples of personalized lines and what are bad examples of personalized lines. So let's start with the bad, or shall I say even weird. Okay, there is no such thing as a bad personalized line, it's just a poorly used personalized line, if you will. So let's talk about weird personalized lines. What would be a weird personalized line? It would be one that would trigger a so what or who cares type of effect in the person that is reading your cold email. So they would receive your email in the inbox, if you've been following the advice on this channel, of course, it's an inbox, not in spam. But then they would read the first line and it'll be like, so what? Like the person just mentioned something that's completely irrelevant. For example, let's say the person has said, and this is a personalized line that used to be super popular back in the day, and I understand in the very beginning it would be something that would kind of work because it was unique, but along the years we've seen that those really fade off really fast and don't really work that well. So here's one example. Someone will reach out to you and say, hey, saw that you're based in LA, go Lakers, woo, right? And then they say right after, by the way, do you need any marketing services? It's like, it doesn't really connect. There is no real reason why you would mention Lakers in that. You try to force a connection between you two, but then you just create this cognitive dissonance right after, because instead of continuing the script talking about LA and perhaps how you guys would meet or how you're down the street and that's why you're reaching out to them and that you work with companies only in LA, you have directly gone into a pitch that is not relevant. So do pay attention to what I just said. You can use a line like this one that may sound weird as long as it is within the context of the script. But in this case, the reason why I call it weird is because most people use these lines on scripts that don't really have anything after that's resonating with what they just said. Their script is just a normal pitch. They just included like that as the icebreaker. But it doesn't really work like that. It doesn't read right. It doesn't sound natural. Okay, so this would be one example of a weird personalized line in my opinion. The next one is my absolute favorite of the weird ones. I have received this once. And I thought it was hilarious, actually. So it did trigger a laugh. But at the same time, I was like, dude, who cares? Why would you put that in an email? You got my attention, but now I just think that you sound weird. So the line is, hey, saw that you're based out of Montana. I'm not in Montana, by the way, just as an example. Okay, so, hey, saw that you're based out of Montana. Always wanted to go to McDonald's there. Heard it's good, right? So I put like Ron or winking here at you. It is a line that I saw very often. Of course, people don't usually use McDonald's. They use a local restaurant to try to create this connection once again, right? Of, hey, I've done my digging. I noticed that you're in X city and I know there is this X restaurant that might be good. The only thing is, if you're sending that to a prospect and you're trying to pitch them on something, they'll go like, who cares? Why would you mention the restaurant? It's not really that cool. It used to be cool. It's no longer that cool. Okay? So just keep that in mind. I'll give you one more example. This one I receive quite a lot, actually. It's, hey, I saw that you have great experience as the CEO of your company for 12 years. That's so impressive. Love it. So pretty much the reason why this line is a bit weird is it's overly flattery, right? So you're trying to like flatter me with all of this stuff, but I would usually go like, so what, right? Like, why does that even matter? Now, how could you take this specific line and make it better? That would be a topic for another conversation, but it would pretty much be something like, and since you've been in business for so long, I do think that you do have the experience to help all of these companies out there because everyone else is just starting out, is doing X and X and X mistake. And I think you'd benefit from whatever service that you are trying to pitch them. So you can turn this weird personalized line into a good one. Now, that's not often the case. So I'm still categorizing this as a weird one. Let's get into the next one. Hey, first name. So, hey, Felipe. Love the design of your website, especially the nomad in the middle of the landing page. It's like, so what, right? It doesn't really connect unless you're selling like web design services and you're going to have another line that's going to say how you can leverage a nomad even further to create pages that resonate more with the target audience and so forth. So unless you turn this into a relevant point in your script, it still sounds like, so what, right? Let me clarify something as well. I'm reading through these very fast and I'm giving you all of these ideas on scripts and different lines. If you're not really following exactly like how these would connect to different scripts, don't worry about it. We're going to get into that in a second. Okay, just want to clarify that this is still part of the process. Last personalized line that usually comes across as weird is this one, and this one I see quite a lot, is, hey, saw that you grew your company to 15 employees. Congrats. Whilst not realize that it might not be a thing that they're happy about. They're just like, wow, I had to hire all of these people to fulfill all of the clients. They're unhappy right now, and that's not really something that I'm happy about. So there are lines that are trying to promote like flattery, but they actually come across as quite weird and like off place, right? So I just want to clarify on that. These are examples of personalized lines that don't really work that well nowadays unless you really connect them with the content of your script. Now, let's shift gears. Let's look into good personalized lines, ones that would trigger an effect of, oh, they actually did the research, or wow, how did they know that, right? Those are the reactions that we usually want to be triggering, or just make it extremely relevant. I'm going to give you examples for both. So again, out of context, these lines wouldn't work either, but they are way better than the ones before. And these can be achieved with Clay and AI. So for example, let's say you were starting a script like this. Hey, Christopher, Chris, heard your podcast with Michael and was impressed by how you handled growing your company to 50 employees and over 250K MRR. What does this show to the person reading? One, you've done your research. And second, this is a real email. This right here forces that effect of like, maybe this person actually sat down and wrote this. Maybe this is not a mass cold email that's going out, okay? So you can get this type of line using AI depending on the source you give it. We're gonna talk more about that in a second. That's just one example. Another example, let's say you put a subject line reaching out to Michael, okay? Michael, the owner of this channel. And the subject line reads as Rolex, Thailand, and growing past 50 employees. Actually, if it was actually right, it would be growing past 50 clients. Let me correct that. If you send this subject line to Michael, it would very much resonate with him because one, he's into Rolexes, he's actually into watches, not just someone who wears Rolexes. Anyways, he's been to Thailand for the longest time and he has already grown a company past 50 employees. In fact, way more than that. But this would be a subject line that would at least intrigue him. He'd be like, okay, maybe this person has watched my content, maybe they have watched a podcast of mine, or maybe they know me, right? And so he would open the email. And as long as the email includes the context as to why you mention these things, it will tend to perform way better, okay? I'll show you how you can get those personalized lines with AI as well. Next one, as an example of one that would work in a script that is casual, is, hey Michael, saw that you guys have been working on split testing landing pages for DeFi meetings. I do like the new mascot. Makes sense it's a nomad considering you've been to 50 countries in the last 7 years, right? So this shows that you've done your research. Now, this is way different than this right here. Love the design of your website, especially the number in the middle of the landing page, right? This comes across way more crafty, and it does show that you have done your research. Now, you may be asking, how on earth will you have AI come up with something like this? And it will all come down to a single thing, which is source. If you can have AI listen to transcripts or read through transcripts of podcasts where this person has been featured on, they'll be able to pull out this type of line from there. And I'm going to talk more about that in a second. Let me give you one more example now. Let's say your script isn't casual, and adding lines like this would not be relevant, because it would not be relevant if you're reaching out to, I don't know, probably cybersecurity companies. Who knows, right? And position titles, they're not like founder owner that could be on a podcast. So in that case, you want to look for relevancy. Let me give you examples. So let's say I have a cold email offer. This could be a good personalized line. Hey Michael, saw that you have just hired Mark and Tom to run the appointment setting at DFY. Pay attention how I said DFY and not DFY meetings. Are you getting consistent leads to keep them busy? So this comes across as like, hey, I sat down and I actually wrote this email, right? One, I've done my research. I know the people you just hired. I have summarized the name of your company name instead of mentioning it all out, which is not something you'd really do in a conversation. So if you were talking to Mike, you wouldn't say, hey dude, how is DFY meetings doing? You'd perhaps say, hey, how is DFY doing? Right? Because it would make sense within the context to Michael that you would say DFY. That's how we refer to our own company as well. And so a classic example I see is people adding company names on cold email, and they are these massive company names that include suffixes like LLC, CO, INC, or even like extra suffixes on the company name. So instead of saying Nike, they say Nike Sports. And all of those things take away from a cold email that seems casual, that someone sat down to write. The moment you have LLC, CO, or sports in the company name, it pretty much gives away that you have an automation going. And that this is a bulk email. And so it will only really perform if they're really into your offer. Instead of causing that effect of, oh, this person may have sat down and wrote me this, I should at least pay the due respect and reply to them. Does that make sense? Hope it does. Let me know in the comments if it doesn't, and we can clarify on that in our next video. Now, next personalized line that could work in terms of relevancy. Hey Felipe, notice you're running cold emails for DFY on Instantly. How's the lead rate been since the Google update? This shows a few things. One, I've done my research and I know what you've been doing. And this right here would trigger that effect of, wow, how do they know it, right? Because you know they're running campaigns on Instantly. By the way, quick plug, if you want to run cold email campaigns and you want to run on Instantly, there's a video in this channel that talks exactly about how to run cold email campaigns on Instantly. You can check it out. Link down below. Anyways, coming back. So this personalized line right here would add a lot of relevancy. And it's something that's within context. And it's quite easy to reply to. So it would be a good conversation starter. This is not the whole script. This is just the intro of the script. Below this, you would say, reason why I ask is because I'm Michael, and for the past 7 years, I've been helping companies grow their pipeline through cold email, yada, yada. And then call to action. So this is not a video again on script writing. This is just giving you personalized lines. But there's videos in the channel where we talk about script writing and how to make this work within your script. Next example of relevancy would be you send an email like, Mike, notice you have a job opening for media buyers in Brazil. Is that because Felipe is also from there? If you rock on with a line like this, the person will certainly think, they probably sat down and wrote this. This would be a hard thing to automate, and it's actually not that hard, to be honest. But it does come across as like, wow, this person has done their digging, and they may know Felipe or they may know me. I might as well reply and see who they are, right? So this will increase the amount of reply rates as long as your offer is actually good. So the most important piece is not only this, is what comes after it, right? If you put a generic script right after it, probably wouldn't work. But if your script right after talks about how you help companies with paid ads and how you yourself recruit from Brazil for your team, that will make a lot more sense. And that would be much more congruent and will lead to probably a much higher reply rate, okay? Anyways, this would be if you're running a paid ads offer, right? Last one. Hey John, saw your LinkedIn post about not tracking open rates. Do agree, it's not a good time for it. Also noticed that your last post was 22 days ago and it did get traction. This line right here would work really well if you have a LinkedIn content offer. Because then right after you'd say, reason why I ask all of that, or reason why I mentioned it, is because I help companies like yours produce more content on LinkedIn so they get more traction, they book more calls. Would you be interested in seeing a demo, right? Not saying that that is a good script. Please don't use those words in the script. I'm just giving you context. So this is how I would leverage a relevant personalized line to get me more replies for a LinkedIn content offer. Pay attention that these lines are not for every industry. They're not industry agnostic. They're specific to the service that I'm trying to offer. And so how would you figure that out? You'd have to do some digging into your target industry and see what are things that would be relevant. Perhaps it would be that they are hiring for specific roles that are related to what they're trying to sell them, or perhaps they have posted about looking to get help on something that you can help them with. Or perhaps it is that they're not posting enough content, and they could be. Or that their website is taking 10 seconds to load and it could be taking 2, and that would increase their conversion rates on Facebook ads. So you see where I'm going with this? You need to find a relevancy point. What is it that they're trying to achieve now, or what problems do they have right now that you can help them with? And so turn that into a personalized line, and you can use Clay and AI to create that for you. We're going to talk about that today. I told you before, this video is a lot more about personalized lines and strategy than just Clay. I want to make sure that you can actually utilize Clay as a tool to help you achieve more success, pretty much. Because a lot of people I see using Clay, they're just using because of the sake of using, because they heard someone else say it's fantastic, but their personalized lines are not really that good, and so they don't really get the result. Because the most important thing is actually the strategy. That's where everything starts. It doesn't matter how cool your personalized line is if your script is really bad, or if the people you're targeting don't really need what you have, right? So there are other things that are more important, and I want to show you that, or convey that with what I showed you so far, okay? Now, what is the main difference of bad or weird personalized lines and good ones? It is actually source and relevancy. So, for example, this line right here comes out of a podcast. This line right here also came out of a podcast, or perhaps a description, or a blog article, right? These would come out of my research, right? So these have a good source, and they also have relevancy. Now, these right here just come out of like a random source, like look at their location, or again, location in this one, or just their position title, or how long they've been in a company, or something random like that, okay? So that is the difference between the two. You usually want to aim to have a good source, so give it good information, and relevancy. What I mean by give it good information is give Clay and AI good information to create a personalized line from. Let's talk about good sources. Bad sources, like most common bad sources would be, for example, a LinkedIn personal bio. I see this a lot. They take like my bio on LinkedIn and they create a personalized line based on that. And it sounds really cool, but the personalized line that comes out is just very generic. And I know it came out of my LinkedIn profile, and I could guess that it was generated by AI, right? Because it won't have really that much specialness to it, because I don't have anything special in my bio either way. Now, should I have that? Perhaps, but most people won't. And so I don't recommend using this as your source for a personalized line. Another example would be the company bio. It's usually pretty generic. So unless you're using that to figure out what the company does and give them ideas on how they could be leveraging your service to get more success, then I recommend not using it, okay? So unless you really have like a good angle from it, it's not really that helpful. There are better sources that you can leverage at scale to help your cold email campaigns. Another example of a common bad source, bad within quotation marks again, because you can make it good if you know what you're doing, but overall this is bad, and I'm getting a lot of cold emails nowadays with these types of personalized lines, and guess what I do with them? Unless the offer is really, really good, which is often not the case, I do just end up deleting the email. I don't report you a spammer, because I know how tough it is to get in the primary inbox, but yeah, anyways. Now, another one would be the website About Us page. So someone is like creating automation that scrapes the About Us page of a website and creates a personalized line based on that. And it's usually pretty generic, and it doesn't really work for everyone that you reach out to. So if you reach out to the CMO of a big company mentioning something saw in the About Us page of their website, it's likely not even that relevant. They won't really care. Like, wow, I saw that you started a company in 2009. Woo, right? It doesn't really come across like really that helpful, right? The person wouldn't really feel like it's something that they participated in, unless they were there since the beginning. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. Different personalized lines will work differently for different position titles that you're reaching out to. So a line that might work really well for CEOs will not really work that well for a CMO or a COO or anyone else in the company, pretty much. Okay? So keep that in mind when you're creating these lines. That is, again, why we should have good strategy in place and not only just add personalized lines for the sake of adding them because you heard that they improve reply rates. Okay? Hope that makes sense. Another example of a bad source would be location mentioned on LinkedIn. It could also be good, again, as I mentioned here, but most lines I've seen from location personalized lines were meh, right? So they were like this type right here. Hey, saw that you're based out of LA, go Lakers. Another example is in my LinkedIn, I actually, for once, wanted to see if people would send me bad personalized lines. And so I put my location to Georgia, the country, and all of the personalized lines that came to me were from Georgia, the state within the US. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I understand what we're trying to do, but didn't work. So anyways, let's just give you some context that this sources usually don't lead to very good personalized lines. Now, what are sources that usually lead to very good personalized lines? It would be a podcast interview. It would be a technology trigger, so the company has just installed a specific technology on their website, for example. Or a job post trigger, the company is looking to hire a position that is related to what you're trying to sell them. Think of it this way, a company looking to hire a media buyer and you're selling paid ads. That would be congruent as to why you would reach out because you saw the post. Another one would be content analysis. So someone has posted about something that is relevant to what you're trying to sell, or if you're trying to sell content, it's just the lack of posting that could be the trigger. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. The next thing that's very important is you don't always need AI personalized line. It can also just be good segmentation. I could just segment by companies that have installed specific technology and not use AI at all to create a personalized line, but I'll still trigger relevancy and it will feel personalized and it will work more times than not way better than not having it. Okay, so you can just segment. Segment means figure out like a commonality between all of the companies you can reach out to that need your service and reach out to them mentioning exactly that. Okay? Now here's a golden rule. I really do hope you're going to take this seriously. It is, if you cannot get a good personalized line, don't add a bad one. Adding bad personalized lines will take so much more away from your email than having it. And so pretty much what I'm trying to say is, if your personalized line doesn't really come across as personal, it comes across as a bit wacky, don't add it. It's better not to have one and get directly into your offer and see if it's relevant for the prospect. Okay? So do not add bad personalized lines. If you're on the fence whether or not your personalized lines are good, they're probably not. And so in that case, I would recommend just removing them or split testing in case you're curious to see. So split test your batch and see what works better. But overall, don't add bad personalized lines, as well as just adding a note here on Codimo strategy. Don't add bad merge fields. So if you're adding company names to your Codimo script to try to add personalization, make sure it's formatted properly. Make sure it's not fully capitalized. Make sure it doesn't have suffixes and so forth. If you want a video on that, you can let me know. We can talk about segmentation. We can talk about merge fields. We can talk about high-level strategies that work really well in Codimo. Now, this video is all about Clay. And it's been 20 minutes. I've been rambling about personalized lines and what is good and what is bad. Let's get into how to use Clay to create personalized lines for you. And as I told you before, once again, this video is not only about Clay. I want to make sure that you understand everything that's behind the strategy that's important before you get to Clay. Because Clay is quite easy to use. It's quite straightforward. It's a fantastic tool. So you'll be able to figure out how to find these other triggers there if you understand the basics of how to get a Clay table to work. So let's jump into Clay. I have already come into Clay. I clicked on create new table, right? So I just went on the blue button right there, click on create new table. And I said that I want to start from a job post, right? So I selected start from job post. And in here, I can put in criterias, right? So I came in and I said, I want to look for companies that are looking to hire a media buyer, but that is not a media buyer assistant, right? So I removed the job title assistant. The specifics of what I'm adding here is not important. What is important is the concept, okay? So I'm including the job titles I want. I'm excluding the ones I don't want that are related to what I want. Then I'm going to put the description. So I want them to be looking for a media buyer for Facebook ads. So that needs to be in the description. And I want the location to be Brazil, because remember the line I was running before that mentioned Brazil. Where is it? Here, this line right here. So if I want to create this line, this is how I'd go about creating it, right? I'd look for job boards that are looking to hire Brazilian media buyers and that have Facebook ads in the description. And I want companies looking to hire someone full-time, right? So I'm going to get one record out, let's say this company right here, and I'll show you how you can enrich it and how you can get the personalized line out and how you can launch it. So in this case, I would import it to a new table. And what I want out is the fully enriched company. Clay does it for me. I want to know the company headcount because that might be something I'll add in a personalized line. If I wanted extra relevancy, I could look for the tech stack that they already have, in case it's helpful. I could look if they were funded before or if there's any news about them. This is getting all of the good sources I was telling you all about so far, right? So if you can create personalized lines based on this and it will be relevant to your prospects, please add it. It's going to be helpful, okay? Now let's continue and let's run this one company. I only got one result because I just want to give you a sample of how this would work, okay? So now we got the company in here. We have like the job post, when it was published. We have the link to it. Let's see, it's not getting me the company headcount, but that's okay. And it's not getting me the LinkedIn company. Let's see why. I'll try to run it again. It's saying that we're missing an input. So I can just click on the column. I click on edit column and I can see why it's not been working. And in this case, it's because we need a company domain from the imported job. So this was just a glitch when I was running it. In this case, I'm gonna fix it and save and run. We're not gonna get into too much depth on how I fixed this right now. Just know that it's quite simple if you actually click through the buttons. And if you're curious about a very in-depth overview of how to use Clay, let me know in the comments below. I would love to record a video on that. In this case, it's still saying missing input. So the reason for that is because the domain is null. So in this case, because there is no domain, it couldn't really enrich the company. So how else could we enrich the company? We could enrich it through the company name, which in this case is Intiv Ltd. So how would I enrich that? I could come in here on add enrichment. I could put company name, and I can find domain from company name using Clearbit. So let me give it the company name. Right here, company name, Inviv Ltd, right? And I can just continue to add a field, and I want the domain back. So I'm gonna save, and I'm gonna save and run, okay? Now it's going to get me the domain, if it can actually find a good match. If it can't, it will not give me a domain. So in this case, it could not find, perhaps because this company is small or because they don't have much of online presence and whatnot. So in this case, this was a fail. Now, what we could do here is we could just get more companies. So we can click here on find more companies. We can take like the job title we had before, and let's add, let's say 2 more companies to this table. Let me add that. Okay. Let's see, okay, this is all right. So there we go. Now we're getting 2 new companies getting plugged in, both from Brazil. And now the company got enriched already because there was a domain from the company. Okay, so here's the company, here's the job title they're trying to hire for, here's the LinkedIn board. Now, how do we go from here? What else do we do? You have a few options. Now you can enrich the person that posted the job or the CEO of the company, if that is the person that is relevant for you to reach out to. I'm gonna go for enriching the CEO of this company. So I'm gonna add enrichment, right? And I wanna find the person. So let me put here person, find an enriched person from Google search. Let's say I wanna use that for the specific case, right? So I'm gonna add that in there. I'm gonna choose my search query, which is going to be CEO, and I will put site being linkedin.com/in. Why that? Because this is going to search on Google CEO on linkedin.com of the domain that I'm going to look for, which is going to be this domain right here, right? So CEO of this company. Let's continue and add this. What I want back is the URL of the person that I just looked, and I want their name, okay? Those are the 2 things that I want. I'll also actually bring in the title just to see what's gonna come from that. And then let's save and run. Let's see what's gonna happen. It should get us the CEO of these 3 companies. So let's see. If not, okay, there we go. So we got actually 2 irrelevant titles. So let's check what we have done wrong. In this case, we did have CEO. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it between quotation marks. So it will only search for CEO. Okay, and I can remove actually LinkedIn. I just saw there's a new feature in Clay where they will already query for the LinkedIn profile. So that is good. I'm also going to add the company name here to see if that will help somehow. Okay, let's save and let's run it again. Let's see if this is going to work this time. I then can create a rule that if title is not CEO, it searches again. So you can again mode Clay to whatever you want it to look like. Okay, in this case, it got us again Andres as the president. Let's see what's going to get us for Cubatica. Now we got the CEO. All right, beautiful. So it got us a right match in here. What I'm going to do from here is now I want to enrich the email and get the email from this person. So I'm going to click on add enrichment. I'm going to use find emails, find work email from profile URL. That is my favorite search, by the way, that I strongly recommend that you use as well. So thought I'd mention. And I want the URL back. So let's see. Would it be this one? It should be right here, URL. Okay, beautiful. I'm gonna, now I could put a search here. I can use AI to tell Clay, only run if title contains CEO. All right, and then it's gonna create me a formula that will only run if CEO is in there. So it's only gonna run for one of the records. And the output here is correct. So I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna continue to add the fields. I want the email back and I want the status. And I'm gonna save and I'm gonna run. And let's see what's gonna happen. Okay, so I'm showing you now enrichment of accounts. Soon I'm gonna show you personalized lines. So don't worry about it. Okay, we're gonna let it queue right here. It didn't find an email, unfortunately. So what I can do is I can do a waterfall enrichment, right? I could go from here and I could say, create a new column. I could create a waterfall if I wanted to, right? Or I could just add another enrichment. And this time I wanna search with Apollo. So Apollo, let me see. Which one could we use? Enrich person, okay? So I'm gonna add here enrich person. I would have to add my Apollo account. In this case, I don't have it really connected here. So we're gonna actually end up skipping this. But pretty much what I would do is I would add a column as enrichment. Let's say I would add Apollo in there. And I will say to Apollo again, using AI, only run if this email status is not found, right? So let's see. Okay, in this case, it would run 3 times because it wasn't found in any way, okay? So I could make the format more complicated and say like, if status is not there and we found the actual CEO, I could make this more complicated, but I just wanna show you how easy it is to plug that in. Now, I would search with the name and the LinkedIn URL of this person on Apollo to try to get their email. Once I got their email, okay? Once I got their email, let's say I got an email right here. Let me see, can I edit this? I'll add my own email in there. You guys can cold email me, not a problem. Shoot me emails all day long, I like reading them. So let's say it found the email, okay? That is the email of the person. Let's say it worked already. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use AI to create a personalized line for me. So I'm gonna add ChatGPT, generate text, that's what I wanna be doing. I like using GPT-4o mini. If you're creating personalized lines, please always use GPT-4o. It will be the best one, at least in my experience so far. Maybe when you're watching this, there's already a new version, but so far, 4o has been the best. And now I'm gonna ask AI to create a personalized line for me. So I'll say, you are a cold email personalized line writer. You only output a personalized line if it is actually good and relevant. You're gonna give it context. My offer is, my cold email script is, and then you're gonna include like your cold email script. Let's say like, hey, whoops, first name, personalized line, whoops. And then you have your script. Your job is to add the personalized line, is to output the personalized line only. If you can't create one, reply no, okay? Then what I'm gonna give it is examples of good personalized lines, right? I'll give it some context. Again, we could record a video on prompt engineering. This is not the best prompt ever. I'm just giving you an example of how you could run this, right? But now you'd give it examples of personalized lines and you're gonna give it the input. The input is the most important thing. So the input in this case is going to be what you're looking to hire, right? So in this case, I could add the job title that you're looking to hire. And I could say it like this. Can I? They are looking to hire a job title. And I can say and I can give the location since the date of the start, right? The day was posted on, right? And now I could give it more information. Again, you can make this prompt really good. You can give it multiple sources, multiple inputs. But let's say you added only this. Now what you can do is you can just put this to run, right? So I'll just run this. Although there is more to this. Again, if you want to get advanced, you should be choosing the creativity level. I don't really want something that really like that creative, right? So I would usually go like for 0.25, so it's not that creative. It doesn't create something wild. And I would give it like more advanced settings, but again, we could record a video just on advanced settings if you're looking into that, okay? Ideally, you'd also give it examples right here. You see, like, can add examples. You could do all of that. That would be really, really helpful. You can train your AI. In this case, I just want to show you how you could get this personalized line out, right? So now you would save and run. And let's see what's going to come out. It probably won't be like that good because the prompt wasn't really done. But anyways, I noticed you're expanding your team in Sao Paulo for a Facebook Media Buyer Row. Exciting times ahead. Not really that terrible. It could actually quite work. But again, I should have given it examples of good personalized lines. And if you want to give it good examples, you could give it this, right? And it will already output better lines than what it has right now. Now, here's what you would do next. You could either download this list with the emails and the personalized line and whatever data out of the company, if you enriched it, upload it to SmartLead instantly or any other sending tool and run your campaign. Or you can go ahead and add an enrichment and already add this to your SmartLead campaign, for example, right? So you could add SmartLead, you could say add lead to campaign, and you would add it to a campaign that is only for media buyers in of companies which hire media buyers, right? So you can now click in here, you could select the campaign ID, right? Which you can do a lookup if you need to. We're gonna talk more about advanced stuff in another video. Give it the email address. So for example, in this case, it would be this email right here. You would give it the first name, which in this case, it would come out of that title, so name right here. This is the full name, okay? So you should have broken it down. Again, you can use Clay to do whatever you wanted to do. So you could use Clay to just like break down the names. Then I'm gonna add the company name, which I also have gathered already. You should be cleaning them. Remember what I told you before. You don't wanna mention like that one, Intiv LTD. You wouldn't say LTD, you just say Intiv. And by the way, Clay has a feature that cleans company names for free, which you should certainly be leveraging, or using AI to do it for you. And then custom field would be your personalized line. So personalized line, and then you just give it a personalized line that you have created with AI. Now, once you click save and run, it will automatically add this lead to your campaign. And so if you put this table here to run on a schedule, meaning every day we check for new jobs, it will automatically every day add leads to your campaign of companies that are looking to hire a media buyer. So that's how you have automated your lead generation and how you have added good personalized lines to your cold email campaigns, okay? Now, again, we could talk about how to create any type of personalized lines, all of these right here, but I just want to show you the basics. How do you create a table on Clay that does it for you? How do you know like what is good and what is bad? And from here, I feel like you'll be well on your way to creating fantastic personalized lines. Now, I would love to make this a series and teach you how to create every single one of these, how to find all of these sources, what are the best tools, what are the best tables that we run in our company. And if you're curious about that, drop a comment down below. I'd love to tell you all about it. If you're looking to sign up for Clay, the link is also down below. You can just click that. They have a free trial. You can give it a try. Specifically, if you want to clean your company names like I was telling you before, they have a feature that will normalize the company names for free for you. So you certainly should check that out. And that's going to be as much as we're going to talk about today. Thanks for having me, Michael. And I'll see you all in the next video.
Thanks, Felipe. That video was super helpful. Now, if you want to use AI's personalized lines, you know how. So if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to sign up for Clay or any other tools mentioned in the video, there's a link in the description. And finally, if you do want to work with us, there's also a link in the description to do so. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.